following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership are not responsible for the content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. And now, the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek.
And it's not a good thing when we have two Gregs in the same room. And you know what, Alan? Both are politically the same.
What is that?
Well, that means you're both not conservative.
Well,
okay, I got it.
Greg,
I got it.
I'm a California liberal.
They're
California
moderate. They're
liberal, yeah.
moderate.
I just thought I'd pick on them real quick before we got started too far. Alan, why aren't you helping me?
There's no reason to, Joe. You are so fantastic you can do this on your own.
I can
need
do
help.
this all by myself.
Doesn't need any help.
340-1590, 340-1590. So in the house we have Greg Fasula, attorney, one of the original three members of this debacle that started back in 2004, give or take, was Greg Fasula, attorney, Dan Warren, independent insurance agent, and Joe Martek, financial advisor. And then Cliff's got his finger pointing at Greg. Is there a reason why?
Yeah. So people can see
where he is.
You put the camera where he is? That's Greg?
I'm there.
It's your show.
I'm there.
You're not
in
here?
the camera.
No,
But I saw your fingers pointing up in the air.
That's not what he was doing, Joe.
That's not what he was. Wrong finger clip. Anyway, the three of us.
Joe's
started,
number one.
Yeah, number one, right? The three of us started doing these shows back in 2004 with a very simple concept. Each one had a different area of expertise. People could call in and ask questions. And to put it mildly, Greg, it's been very gratifying for everybody. And I'm talking from not necessarily a monetary standpoint, but the people that we've helped. And I know for a fact you've had numerous people call you that you've helped that you haven't charged a dime for, and Dan advice what we've done for people, which I tell you, that makes you feel better than I think almost anything we could have
So
done.
you're going to be gone next week, right?
Well, are you trying to change the subject?
Well, no, I was just thinking Greg Fasula and I could hijack the show and we'll just be liberal talk for...
You know, that'll
Yeah,
go
that
big.
sounds
That'll go big here. Alan.
Sorry, I'm moderating the show.
Then in 2009 or 8 or 10, give or take, when the Great Recession hit, subjects came up called real estate and mortgages. So we added Ms. Victoria Lloyd, Remax of Stewart, hardest working realtor known made to man, and Mike Paulus, mortgage broker, who happened to educate Dan and I. And Dan and I have been around for so long, we thought we knew everything, but we found out real quick we didn't.
No, I don't know everything. I'm told that all the time.
I know that, but that's because you're married. Anyway, so that
The older you get, the more you know you don't know. Everything you don't know.
You know,
anything.
that's the
really.
amazing thing. Greg, you said it. When you start off, you pass tests, you get your licenses, credentials, and everything. You say, oh, boy, now I know what I'm doing. Well, guess what? And what you just said. It never
you know
fails.
how to pass the test.
Yeah, that's about it. Next comes up something. Gee, that's brand new after 30 or 40 years. You learn something new.
Well, the
It's-
smarter
experience.
you are, the more you realize what you don't know.
Yeah.
And just like in here, there are a lot of things that I may know that you may not know.
Yeah.
So we sort of feed off each other. And isn't that really how humanity works? Is you look for somebody who can help you, who specializes in that thing, and you
Right.
feel like they're going to do a good job for
Well,
you.
that's the reason for this show. I mean, we have our own specialties, and we're able to, you know, give what we know about our, you know, our jobs.
Yep. In fact, I have a young lady that I think has been talking to you and me that is going through a trauma in her life, and without getting into details, there's a whole bunch of it is trying to help her and give her some guidance on which is the right way to go, because she's in a flux. She's had health problems, you know, and it's some things are relatively easy for us and some things are not. But when it hits your particular ballywick where your course goes, we can help. And I've said to a lot of people when they run into a terrible situation, I said, call Greg. Sometimes a letter from an attorney will wake people up a lot quicker than you calling up and trying. And, you know, there's a lot of people that, oh, how do I put this right? They may not be treated fairly because...
No, they're ignored, and it tends to get people's attention.
Yeah, and that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's lots of words for attorneys, like counselor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're supposed to be able to have that gravitas, let's say, that your opinion is supposed to matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've always used an attorney if there was an item that I couldn't, let's say, resolve easily.
Mm-hmm.
I will usually say, well, listen, we're at an impasse. So, you know, we need to go to the next step, which is usually getting attorneys involved. And as Joe said, many times that sort of helps them resolve it on their own a little faster.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's you know, when you have insurance companies, I mean, that's a lot of times you're going to have impasses with the insurance adjuster.
Right.
But when the insurance company brings in an attorney and attorney dealing with an attorney, and it just a lot of times will make things move.
Well, you know, and what happens too, you bring in a third party, oftentimes is more objective.
Right.
Like when I have my opinion,
that's
Dan
a good
has
point.
his. If we're arguing, it's hard for us to be objective, but
Yep.
an outside party.
But
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
something to keep in mind, and I observed this from most everybody sitting here. If you have an opinion, and I have a differing opinion, but I have better facts, and I have ways to take the emotion that you brought to your opinion, not facts, but the emotion you brought to your opinion, a lot of times either you'll change your opinion or I'll change mine. I'm not so you know, going to hunker down and say, no matter what you say, I'm never going to change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I will change my mind if you can give me a good reason to. Not yelling at me and giving me your emotion instead of your facts. So
You kind of remind me of my mother.
your mother.
Yeah,
yes.
you'll like this. If Bill Clinton could run
Do
for
I need to
president
delay
again,
on?
Mom would come out of the grave to vote for him.
Well, be
She was
surprised how many people do come out of their graves
And
to
vote.
vote for those Democrats.
Welcome to Chicago.
Welcome to 340-1590, 340-1590. And about 5 years ago, we had a guest attorney show up for a show. And he's a retired prosecuting attorney from Wisconsin. And he has been a relatively consistent team member forever now.
Well, he keeps us
basically.
on track when we wander off into unknown subjects. He'll bring us back to where we
Just
need
about
to be.
every 3 minutes.
Well, wait a minute. Sometimes he tells a story about a priest and a minister and a rabbi and a car wreck and getting pulled
Oh,
over.
no, don't do that again.
Once was enough.
Once
Once
is
was
enough. Anyway, and you told that story on Christian radio too. We had to do it. It was
Absolutely.
and he did it. It was a good story.
Actually, it was a good
It
story.
was a good
It was
story.
a funny story, yes.
So the concept of the group, very simply, is to save people money or make people money, and also to get them past hurdles in life that they may be having problems with. One of the blessings that we have as a group is there's a roughly 200 years worth of combined experience. And, you know, it was your dad, right?
Yeah.
You can't get experience without time.
Well, he would say wisdom is an accumulation of mistakes,
Yeah.
either yours or somebody else's. And then he would always point his finger at me and say, in your case, Dan, it's you making the mistakes. So,
Yeah. The object, you know, I think every father in the world told his son, you don't need to make the same mistakes I made, learn from them. And you look at him and say, what does he know? He's an old guy, right? Remember that when you're 16, you knew everything, and when you turned 30, your parents finally started to get smart?
But that's the best way to teach. You teach by example.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just telling your kid do this, do that, it just seems to create the opposite effect.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was talking to an attorney in my building. He's a boater, and I'm a boater, and I'm going to the Bahamas, and he's going down to the Keys, and they're going to dive for lobsters. And he says, we're going to dive the bridges. And I said, well, you better check, because they changed the rules. You're not allowed to dive by the bridges. You got to be 600 feet away from docks, 600 feet away from seawalls.
how do they know?
Well, if you get caught, that's how they know.
Is it the boat that has to be docked, or do the bubbles have to be coming up?
You know, I'm not. Hey, listen. You think I'm going to interpret the law for an
I'm
attorney?
just asking. I don't do either of those.
Well, all I said to him was, and I said, well, if I were you, I'd find out. And he says, yeah, the biggest problem is I've got my kids going, and I can't set a bad example. Greg, what you just said. You know, you have a responsibility as a parent, if you're going to be a good parent, is to lead by example. So,
And as a good lawyer, you know, I have a good friend of mine who's an attorney who also went to Alabama, by the way. So, you know, we're both involved in the Little League down in Jensen, and there was going to be an acquisition of some land between the county and the Little League. And my friend says, I have to resign from the Little League. I go, how come? He goes, because I don't want anybody to think that there's a conflict of interest in me representing both sides, working for myself. He goes, I will never have that happen to me. And that's when I realized just how much integrity this guy
That says
has.
a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It-
that's nice.
You know, listen, that's probably the biggest word in life is integrity. When you think about a professional or any person, if somebody says that person has integrity, that's about as strong as you can get.
So wait a minute, Greg, you went to Alabama?
I did. Yeah.
Did you graduate?
Yeah. Well,
There is a graduate?
There is a great.
I didn't know
well,
that.
Now,
the
yes.
University of Alabama Law School is one of the best
You're
I
picking-
was-
in
you're
the
hitting them
country.
in a sore
I
spot
was
now.
going to say that because, you know, when my son went to law school, that was high on his list because they're a really good law school.
They're one of the best state law schools in the country.
That's
by
true.
far.
That's true. That's true.
I understand the chitlins are pretty good in Alabama.
Oh, the food is great. Fried chicken and
Fried chicken.
ribs. I mean, I could gain a lot of pounds if I lived there.
I'm telling you what. 340-1590, 340-1590. So what do you think about COVID?
Well, two of us in here are pretty smart. The rest of you guys are not too smart.
Means two of them have masks on and the other ones don't. But we got a lecture about not having a mask on.
It's called mismanagement. This COVID can be managed. It's being managed. It was managed in China, in Asia, South Korea, Europe. Some states in the United States, it's been managed.
Okay.
But the United
Blue
States,
states.
no. Yeah, exactly. Florida is the epicenter of the epicenter.
Now, why do you think that is?
I know why that
Why?
is.
Wait, I just want to get your opinion because I have an opinion.
We closed too slow, open too fast.
That's not the right answer.
That's not
That's
the
the-
right
The
answer.
right
exact
answer
answer.
is all the people from New York and New Jersey ran down here and brought the COVID with them. That's my answer.
Wait a minute. There's another answer.
All right.
Did you listen to the governor at all?
Yeah.
Which governor? President Cuomo?
Yeah, President Cuomo.
Yeah,
right.
Cuomo, President Cuomo.
Our
I've listened to.
governor in the state of Florida.
Yeah, and he has all the excuses in the world, which
I wouldn't say
tries
excuses.
to deflect
They were
from
doing
the facts.
statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the things that happened, and if you look at even on liberal media, they are showing that the age groups are come down dramatically, the new cases for COVID. Have you noticed that?
So have we killed
Yeah.
off all the old people and we only
killed
have
off
young?
all the old people now. But there's a reason why. And this is what he said was, if you go into our agricultural regions, which the testing was extremely slow,
Mm-hmm.
they have an 80-90% COVID infection rate in many of these areas of Florida. Immokalee, Belglade,
Indiantown?
Indiantown.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's communal living, there's communal transportation all day long. They're together sweating in the fields. So it's happening. So
Yeah.
if we eliminated that whole group, from the percentages, we're not so bad, Greg. But you see, here
Well,
come. No, I'm just telling you.
Okay,
I'm careful
so
now.
so the
It is.
United States is 5% of the world population, but we have 25 to 30% of the world's coronavirus cases, and Florida is the epicenter of the epicenter.
Well, what
But
we need
what
to do is we
percentage-
need to get rid of everybody in Immokalee and Belglade.
What percentage of the
Indiantown.
rest of the world has actually tested?
No,
You know, it's just, listen, it's like my mom says, I'm never sick because I never go to the doctor. So if I go to a country that says we don't have the COVID, but only 1/10 of 1/100th of a minute percent have ever been tested,
There you
of
go.
course they don't have any COVID problems because no one's been tested. So
Well,
we
but
are
that's
the
not the case.
number one country of testing. So we should
well,
have the most.
I don't think we're
people.
number one by.
Okay, it's Denmark.
I mean,
with 6
we're-
million people. They do a better job.
We have more
testing.
people
We
than
have
that
more
in South
people,
Florida.
We got more people.
but per
two
capita, I don't
counties.
think we're number one
Well, according to
as far as testing.
I'm going to have to look up those statistics because other counselor that's sitting here, have you kept track of that stuff?
No, I haven't.
Get on your phone right now. Hurry up and check this out because we have an attorney here that knows more.
What would you? What
Per
would you
capita,
Like
I
What's
don't
our
think-
per capita testing in America versus other countries for COVID? I'm just curious what they do. Then you have to come up and say, is it true? Whatever the
Hey,
statistics
we have to be
are.
number one in something. We should be number one in that, at least testing.
Well, hey, I know Seattle's number one in getting rid of big companies.
Did you read Carl Hyacin in today's paper?
No, but he's a trip.
You gotta read it, and because
Funny guy.
He's
Well,
a
Carl-
funny guy, and he's a smart guy. I mean,
He's also a flaming
he's
liberal.
right on point as far
Sure
as
he is.
DeSantis.
He's a hundred. He's
got the right idea, Joe.
Well, that's it. Why aren't you in California where you belong? You can't afford to live out there anymore. I know. You're in the radio business.
Exactly.
You need a tent on the sidewalk.
You need a tent on the sidewalk. Hey, you could be in downtown L.A. in a tent city.
They don't get
Hey.
COVID there.
They are $35,000 tract homes sold for $695,000. Yeah, you're right. We
Let me
couldn't
ask
afford to
you:
live
Is that when you sold it?
No.
No, that's what I thought.
kidding? Are
That's
you
way
kidding?
after that, right?
Oh my goodness.
340-1590, 340-1590, and we have a caller. Hey, Mike, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Hey guys, great show. I've been listening.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
What's happening, Mike, man? The mortgage business, I understand, is pretty good. Real estate's pretty good.
Yes, I am social distancing from my office. I've been here since the beginning of the pandemic. I'll be here till the end of the year.
In your house?
No, in my office.
In your social distancing? Staying away from people in your office, right?
Well, it's just been incredible. It's just been. I'm truly blessed.
It's been what?
Incredible round for us. The interest rates are at an all-time low.
Speak up a little bit, Mike. You're fading away.
We're losing you.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
You social distance too far.
Yeah, you're really.
You're social.
Really
you gotta
social
you gotta
distance.
unsocial distance the phone.
I'm calling from the distant land of Palm City.
That's exactly
That's
what
the
it is.
problem.
You're
Oh.
getting close to Indian Town. That's where the problem occurs.
Well, listen, the interest rates have been absolutely fabulous. Today I closed the lowest conventional interest rate since I've been in the business. 31 years, 2.75%. It was just.
Isn't that nice? That makes a happy camper, doesn't it?
2.75.
Can you imagine
Are
that?
you kidding?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
a good
Yeah,
deal.
and you know, if you're in the market for an FHA loan, those rates are even lower. I quoted one today at 2.5%. Do you believe that? 2.5
FHA.
FHA.
Wow. What's VA?
Government interest rates are always going to be a little bit lower because they're backed by the federal government.
Right.
They have endless amounts of toner, and they can just keep printing the money.
And it's exactly what they're doing.
Exactly. But it's a great time to consider refinancing. Really, any kind of home financing at this point.
Yeah, boy.
Um,
Hey, I've talked to a young lady, and I know she's talked to you, and I told her yesterday or the day before to call you in Victoria, but talking about a reverse mortgage or selling her house. So she's 62. Is it a 50% loan to value or based on appraisal?
As a rule of thumb, it's 50%, but when I calculated it out for her, it came out to like 55% is what we will lend on a reverse mortgage.
Nice.
When you're in your lower 60s.
Gotcha.
You know, a reverse mortgage is one of those rare occasions where the older you are, the better, because we'll lend you more money, as you age.
Yep.
You're closer to death.
Yeah, I said to her yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I said, you need to call Mike again and get all your numbers and write them down, pay attention, stay focused. She's going through a trauma, so you got to counsel a bit, and I know you'll help her.
She's kicking around a bunch of ideas, which is really great. I mean, she's really been well schooled and did her homework on this, because a lot of people don't realize that you can use a reverse mortgage to purchase a property.
Exactly.
So, if you have about 45 to 50% to put down on a house, you can use a reverse mortgage to go ahead and buy it.
You know that, Greg? Greg was looking a little skeptical.
No,
but he's
I've
from,
never heard
But he's
of
from
that.
California. You know how they are. Anyway, what happens? Let's say you sell your house for $300,000, and you want to go buy another house for $300,000, but you put down $150,000, then you get a reverse mortgage for the other $150,000. You never make a payment.
Wow.
So you get to free up your
all
$100,000.
the benefits
Yeah.
of owning a property free and clear because you don't have the payments on it, but
Yeah.
you get to put them, half
get-
of the money in your pocket.
There
Or
you go.
you can look at it another way. You can buy a property that's twice the price. So if you're only dealing with $100,000 or $150,000 cash, then you can purchase a $300,000 property and still have the same benefits.
Yeah, it's the greatest. I think that concept of using a reverse mortgage to buy a house is probably the greatest thing I've ever heard. But most people don't think about that when they think of a reverse mortgage. But that's a great tool.
Especially when you're our age, right?
Well,
Joe?
your age, you have no memory. What's
Well,
your name?
that's true.
What's your name again?
By the way, guys, I did get something in the mail that is very funny.
What'd
It's one of these seminar type things, right?
Yeah.
On cremation. And approaching 75 as I am, and it says time is running out. And I'm going, oh, what a great marketing thing!
What a tool! What a tool!
Really?
Well, when the Grim Reaper comes up, walking up your driveway with the sickle and in a dark costume, I think that's the closing tool to get you to sign up.
Scary to death. To
I
do
already saw him on the
prearrangements.
beach. I mean,
That's
Yeah.
right. He's getting closer.
Well, Mike, honestly,
we
I'm
could
glad.
probably lend Greg a lot more money on a reverse mortgage.
That's right. Because you're so old.
Because you're so old, right? Yeah, but here comes the problem. He's got Carol, and she's 20 years younger, see, so it causes a problem.
she's only about
Yeah,
30
we would
years
have
old.
Wait a
Joe
minute.
by the younger of the two
Carol, are you
boys.
listening to him? Hey, my man, listen, everything is good. I'm going to be gone. I'm going to the Bahamas on Saturday for 2 weeks, and Alan's going to be hosting the show, so you got to show or call in or the next week or two because, Alan by himself can cause a lot of trouble.
I'll be there. I won't let you down.
There you go. There you go. All right, my man. Hey,
Thanks, Mike.
talk to you this afternoon.
Okay, take care.
Bye. 340 Huh?
2%, 2.75.
Yeah. How about 2.5?
Two
Yeah.
and a half.
Come on.
Oh my God.
Well, you know what's happened? It's all based on the 10-year T-bill, was where the government comes up with these interest rates, and this down below 1%, that's never happened before. All of a sudden, there's just opportunities like crazy.
It's like free money.
It is like
everywhere.
free
What I want to know is now that we've been throwing trillions around
Oh,
here
yeah.
in the last few months, who's going to pay for all that?
Well, luckily, we'll all
What's
be.
our debt now?
Exactly.
You'll be dead. Long time.
Well, I know that.
Well, the million...
Free is not free.
The million, billion,
Eventually,
trillion
we're gonna
story.
have to
I've
pay
told
it,
that
of
before
course.
here. The million, billion, trillion. You remember that story, Greg?
Yes, we all remember.
I believe so.
Oh, I guess that means you don't want to hear it again,
Yes,
huh?
we'll hear it again.
A trillion's a lot of money.
Trillion's a lot. Well, a million
That's-
seconds
that's the
is
big-
12 days. Tick, 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 tick. That's 12 days. A billion seconds is 32 years. Tick, tick, tick. A trillion seconds, only 32,000 years. Multiply that times, what's our debt? 20 trillion or some number?
That was a couple weeks
Something
ago.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, we're adding
Before COVID.
before
Before
COVID.
COVID.
And
Well, here's my prediction, Joseph. You remember when we used to have a $500 and $1,000 bill? They're coming back into production.
5 and 10.
there's probably going to be $10,000 bills,
It'll be like free. It'll be like Monopoly money soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, why there's no inflation, which everybody knows at some point there will be when this whole thing catches up, because you can't just keep doing what we're doing. But in the meantime, you got to I will give the government credit, and I mean both sides of the aisle, every bit of it, for trying to offset this disaster called COVID to keep people eating and living and the economy keep moving.
Well, here's what I think. All right. I believe that there are certain reasons why we give you, as a government, why we give you certain things. And the primary reason we give you these things is so you don't rob us and kill us in our sleep. All right. That's why
Yeah,
we want an
that's a good
orderly
point.
society. So
Well,
the stuff that we've been having,
Wait a minute. Who wants an order?
the government wants an orderly society.
Oh, I
which
got you.
government?
Our government.
Oh, okay.
The government that we vote for.
Okay,
We
go
have
ahead.
the best government money can buy. You
What
know
about
that.
the
Right.
What about the shadow
They-
government?
The
They
sha-
want that tax money coming in so they can waste it, basically.
So they can waste
so they
it.
can distribute it, and they say, "Here's your little share. Don't be robbing and killing Dan in his sleep." All right, and they say, "Okay, we'll take that." And then the COVID came along, and they said, "Oh my goodness, no one's going to work. We have to figure out a way to keep them from robbing and killing," and so they gave out free money. And it's coming to an end the end of July. So if you think it's going to last forever,
Well, there are
you're kidding yourself.
politicos that want to extend that $600 a week.
That's on
unemployment.
top of what you get.
I mean, Greg, that'd give you a raise if you quit working.
I quit working years ago.
It's almost $1,000 a week.
Well, when you add up regular unemployment plus the 600, then figure taxes, it's pushing $1,000 a week.
And if you can get some sort of, food assistance and other assistance, it could be lucrative.
Oh, it's unreal. Unreal.
You asked a question a few minutes ago about comparing
Right.
the COVID with countries. I could not get that, but I did get an interesting statistic about our country. The curve as far as daily COVID cases just went up on like a 45-degree angle or more since January until about the third week in May, where it hit a high of about 1,300 daily cases a day. And as of yesterday, that curve has dropped to about 900 cases a day per capita in the
So
United
it's going
States.
down, is what you're saying.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Well, it's
Liberals
spread-
don't like that.
No, it's spreading into other states that aren't as vastly populated.
This is not a state thing.
And
you're talking
here's
about.
No, this was nationally.
This is national.
Here's the
Nationally.
thing. I know, but here's the thing with Florida. We flattened the curve a little bit, but we never had any decrease before we started opening up. And even the government guidelines were you had to have 2
Florida.
weeks. You had to have 2 weeks of decreases in cases before you start opening up. Never had that. Open right, and that's why we're skyrocketing right now.
I'd be surprised as to how many of the people that actually died, not got it, but actually died from the COVID, were on death's door anyway.
Well, there's another thing. that
And
happened.
this just sort of pushed them right over.
I've got
They
two.
couldn't really recover.
I've got two
Well,
cases.
if
two
that's
cases.
your grandparent, it's
Well, I've got
still.
two- I got two
they-
cases where
it
they
still
have
killed
on
them,
the death
you know?
certificates it said COVID, and neither one were diagnosed. But it said that on the death certificates. Now you do know this, Greg. Medicare pays extra money to hospitals or to facilities if you die from COVID. Period. They just have an extra fee. Okay, now that makes perfect sense to me. If I'm a nursing home or a hospital, I'd rather have 30,000 than 11,000. Wouldn't you, Greg?
Wow.
So I mean, it's a.
But the
it's a-
cases are.
I've never heard
increasing.
that.
Our ICUs.
You need to look it up because
you-
it's not something that is publicly advertised. Can you imagine why?
Our
But-
ICUs are filling up. I know where my wife works. They've had quite an increase. She's had 2 coworkers that have gotten it.
Let me
Those
ask you a question.
coworkers' family members have gotten it, and that's why I'm wearing a mask right now, because I know Alan and I know Joe. You're in
Wait a
that
minute.
age
Wait, you don't
group.
hear about Greg dying, right? You know.
And
Alan
Greg.
and Greg are,
I'm gone
Alan,
anyway.
Alan and Joe are really
I've
old,
gotta
so
go to
he's
that-
wearing a mask.
I'm
Greg
going to
is-
that seminar on my birthday to find out about
Greg's far
what's
enough
gonna
away.
happen to me.
He's safe.
Yeah, you're being solicited for cremation anyway, so
That's
it's
right.
not a big
Oh
deal.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you know, the mask isn't going to protect you. It protects others
Exactly.
from you.
Exactly.
I understand that exactly. Well, there are people, and Greg, you as your wife being in the medical profession, there's people that are carriers, transmitters that have no symptoms.
Don't even know they have it.
Don't know they
Yeah,
have it.
And that can
especially
be-
a lot of the young people.
Yeah.
That can happen with many other diseases that
Oh,
can
yeah.
kill you. So,
course. Well-
COVID-19 is not the only one that has that.
Yeah. Different bodies, antibodies, and immune systems, et cetera, et cetera.
We used to have a show host
See,
here.
in Detroit, we ate a lot of dirt when we were kids, so that builds up your immune
Oh yeah,
system.
yeah.
We
Anyway,
did too in Ohio.
yeah. She lives in Jersey now,
Who's that?
and this is a lady who used to host our golf show, and so all of a sudden she started feeling queasy and, took the COVID test. She was fine. Well, comes find out in this one area of New Jersey, very small area, Hep A became something major
Hep A, yeah.
in the hospitals.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait a minute, where did this came back, and it was like 48 cases just in this one neighborhood, and it's like, wow.
I guess
that's
too many.
amazing.
I guess incest begins at home in that neighborhood.
Well, it's like MRSA. MRSA was the big thing in all the hospitals not too long ago, and it's still there.
Well, it's still there.
It just
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
gotten, top billing.
No,
It's moved
yeah.
down.
Joe, you got to try my dirt meatballs. They're the best.
I know. It was all I know is when I look at the people want to keep their kids sterile and not clean. I said, hey, let that kid go out and eat some dirt like the rest of them, build up his immune system. I mean, 340-1590, 340-1590. Well, I was just I don't know if you paid any attention, but this last weekend we had some relatively strong demonstrations in favoring the police. They came across the Indian Street Bridge. They also did one in Jensen. They did one in Boca.
Saw that on Channel 5, yeah.
And I will tell you, it was very gratifying to see people stand up for our police departments rather than everybody saying, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And Dan and I will jump on this bandwagon that our president says, hey, people that break the law should be arrested. Just a simple thing. People that break the law should be arrested. Now, when you get arrested in New York, we arrest you, then we let you go with no bond. So that's good. That makes
That just spends taxpayers' money. That's stupid.
Anyway, there's only $55 million worth of damage done in a peaceful protest in Minneapolis. Only $55 million worth of damage. That's peaceful protest.
How much to small businesses?
That's just property damage, that doesn't include all the other unknown values.
Yep.
And there was 3 people killed last weekend in Seattle. Nothing serious, but this is a peaceful demonstration, And I'm just saying.
And you notice that the police and EMT stayed away from that.
Well,
And say, hey, you told us to stay out of
Well,
here.
here's what they should do. They are a separate autonomous zone, right? They need a passport to come out. They need to create their own water source and their own sewers. They are autonomous. If they want to come back, they must apply. They must apply to come into the United States like any other immigrant. And let's see how long they want to do that.
Well, they all want to move to Palm City, because the weather's better. So 340-1593. Anyway,
I thought that only happened in Berkeley.
But I hear that Ocasio got renominated again. That's a good
I
thing.
think they're wanting her to be senator now.
That's only right.
But did you hear what she called Schumer?
No.
Just an old man needs to get out of the way. It's like, whoa! Oh my goodness!
Well, you got to give her credit for speaking her mind.
She's gutsy. She's gutsy.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
340-1593.
Soon to be vice president.
Isn't that the truth?
Can you see she and Joe?
She's not old enough, is she, to be vice president?
No,
To be president for sure then.
You got to be 35 years old to be vice president or president, right? 35?
Probably,
Yeah.
President.
Yeah.
35.
I'm thinking Elizabeth Warren or Susan Rice, because
who?
they would be Susan
Neither.
Rice.
Baggage.
They would be ready day one.
Val Demings.
I don't think Warren is Indian
Not
enough
so
to
sure.
qualify.
Val Demings.
Yeah, but she's a
is-
Native
Ooh.
American. No, Native Americans can't be there.
She's smart as a whip. She's got a plan for everything. She
Yeah, you're-
she could take over day one.
You know
and
what
she will
And
compromise.
she will.
She will.
You know
and
what
she
I heard
will, and I
was
hope she will.
day one she's going to raise taxes, but only to attorneys. You'll be in a 90% tax bracket. Not a
Well,
big deal.
No matter who.
Maybe the top 1%. Yeah, they will have something to fear.
Wait, no kidding.
I firmly believe that most people, not all, but most people, when they walk in to make their decision on the president, they're either going to vote for Trump or write their own name in. I don't think anybody's going to pull the trigger for Biden because they're all concerned about him not being physically fit or mentally capable of being the president of the United States.
See, you
I
are
think he's more fit than
assuming
Trump.
you're assuming Trump is going to be there.
If you,
Well,
That's true. I am assuming that.
Trump saluted 600 times.
How
yeah,
about
exactly.
about
and he
Trump?
Wait a minute.
He
Did you
couldn't
see
lift a glass of water.
You see him on Tulsa, though?
Yes, I
yeah.
did.
Yeah. He
Well-
not only lifted the water, he drank it. He did it
Well-
with both hands.
Trump, the
We
new,
know-
new president of a new news network, as
New-
he resigns from the White House? Just
Yeah.
mark my words in this.
Well, of
He,
course he
he
will. Of
can
course
he
he
can run that from the big house because he's going from the White House to the big house because because Biden said he's not going to pardon him.
Oh, Lord, save me. It's going to be interesting.
I know
It's interesting
you
already.
see why he got rid of that prosecutor in New York.
Which prosecutor?
The one he
he's
just
gotten
got
rid of lots of them.
I know, but
But no, wait
they're
a minute.
getting close to.
U.S. attorneys serve at the pleasure of.
The president.
At the pleasure.
That is true.
And
If you don't please him, he gets rid of you.
And
What-
if you're
what did he used to say?
investigating his
You're
people,
fired.
You're
you're
fired.
gone.
340-1590, 340-1590. Hey, we got another caller here. Let's take Pat. It's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Hey, Joe, history is not bunk. Always remember this.
There you-
History is not bunk. We're living in a real revolution here. How about this Jenny Dorkin? How about this Jenny Dorkin?
What's-
She's asking him, pretty please. He's the mayor of Seattle. She's asking him, pretty please, don't commit no more crimes. Could you please go home? Could you please? What is it? What kind of world are we living in? Do we need a reality manager here? And
Well, you
somebody
see,
who,
listen. Threatening them with taking away their candy didn't work.
They
so-
need to go back to their mama's basement and play their video games and leave the rest of us alone.
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
We have a system. I think we have a system. I just read this political industry book, and it's the votes are not the only currency, like we all know for a while. But we're trying to figure out where this voting process is coming from, because it's all, support the criminals, and if you say anything, you become what they're doing. You
Yeah,
know, it's almost
yeah.
like you're living in this crazy type of time warp where we're going back to, this crazy thing where everybody's wants to kill everybody, and because they're trying to make us into, whip us in this Johnny Provocateur type of thing, and it's a very difficult thing. You don't want to get provoked because they got law people behind them. They know the law. You may break the law before they break the law, and they're already breaking the law. It's that nutty.
Hey,
So
as I said, my whole thing was this is a very sad thing in Seattle and Minneapolis, but it's many places. It's many places, And it's Dan and I had conversations ahead of time, which we're not politically correct every time. Dan,
Look,
can you
Joe,
imagine that?
if you have a child and every time he does something wrong and you tell him now don't do that, and there's no consequence, and one day he's 17 or 18 years old and he commits a terrible crime, and you say, I can't believe he did that. He's never been like that. Well, he has never had any consequences,
Yeah.
so he feels immune, like a Teflon Don. He can do whatever he wants.
At some point, we got to put our foot down, though. We all know what's going on. Like, BLM has got no 503C.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that is, ACLU, NLG, FAML, SPL, all these organizations are just hate organizations to try to destroy us.
Huh?
So we have to find a way of flipping the table so we can put the charges, necessary charges that they're doing. And then
you know what
get back
happens?
to some business.
It's really not that difficult. It's called vote, and make sure you vote your conscience.
Absolutely.
And if you it's a situation where we're very safe. We're in St. Lucie County. We're in Martin County. Our crime rates are very low. But does that mean they will always be low? Does that mean that
No.
this thing won't spill over from other places where all of a sudden we get more and
could.
more lax, or they cut funding for the police?
Joe, you, as a
Set up
citizen,
for
you
that.
have to do the right thing. You have to be responsible. There was a pain clinic that opened up by one of my offices many years ago, and I would see all of these out-of-state tags, and I would go and report them every day to the police. Every day I'd report them. And I had friends tell me, well, aren't you concerned that these dopers might come after you? I said, no, I have to do the right thing. And eventually they had a big giant raid, put them all in jail, and they shut it down. You cannot allow the thugs and the criminals to take over. You must stand up and do the responsible thing. And I think we all agree on that.
There you go.
Yes, you got it. You got to do it because it will come in your neighborhood, and they will come because it's once you let it, it's like like the Bastille Day and the guillotine when they started chopping heads. Soon they ran out of heads. They started chopping each other's heads.
They come looking for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean it'll come. Once the fire starts, you know what you got to do. But you got to watch out for the Johnny Provocateur. That's all.
All right, my man. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening, Pat.
Hey,
Appreciate it. 340-1590, 340-1590.
Besides, we all know the only thieves in this country are in D.C.
The
Joe.
big thief.
Yes.
Big thieves.
You asked a question about COVID cases per capita. Well, I didn't have the opportunity to find out the population of the counties, but obviously Broward, Dade, they are leading Florida by a great amount. But the county that I live in is St. Lucie with a population of approximately 365,000 people. They've had 1,249 cases, which is 1/3 of 1%, and they've only had 42 deaths, which is 11 thousandths of 1%. So if you're diligent and you're not being stupid by going to mass rallies and
Unmasked rallies.
unmasked rallies, right? I said mass rallies.
Oh, mass.
I was using the Catholic
I
term
thought
for
we had to
rallies.
go to mass now. Okay, Father.
So I found an article online as of April.
This is called a rebuttal.
Wait a minute.
April-
This is an article. Is this a statistic or
The
an
attorney
article?
speaks.
He just wants more.
Did Heisen write it?
No,
The other attorney speaks.
he just wants more airtime. That's why he found an article.
April 22nd, U.S. ranked 22nd
In what?
in cases tests per capita.
Yeah, but we didn't even
22nd
start
in
testing
the
till
country.
May.
Anyway,
Well,
what's it now?
I know it's quite sad.
What's it now?
Well,
We're number one.
I haven't found right now, but
Singapore
we're far from
probably.
What good is
far
he?
from number one.
But they didn't even start testing any place until March, I think. That's when things started happening.
In this room, other than you, Joe, who's been tested?
You've been tested?
No.
You had to get tested.
Cliff had
because
to
you
for
had
surgery.
because you had to have
Yep.
surgery.
Yep.
I will tell you something. I am not.
Did you have fun?
Oh Lord, save me!
They scraped his
stuck
brain.
that thing up my nose and it came out my anus. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it was. I have never felt in. The doctor looks at me and he says, "This might bring a tear to your eye." Well, boy, that was easy. Then
They not only stick it up there, they got to rub it around.
rub it
for
around.
and they go into your sinus, I think. And then he goes, "Okay, now I got to do the other side." And I said, "Well, hurry up, because I'm ready to die as it is."
Isn't there a better test?
Well, they have the cheek, and I don't see why they don't use the cheek swab more.
Evidently, they don't like that because they're all doing this swab, stick it up your nose routine.
Yeah.
And, is that what they did to you, Cliff? They do it up your nose?
It was in the back of the throat, a gag effect.
Did they stick it way in the back of your throat? I had people said they did nose and mouth, the same
That's a
test.
sick
Oh,
doctor.
man. That's
Different collection methods.
Using different collection methods.
Dr. Death. Oh, my goodness.
340-1590, 340-1590. I will tell you, all I know is I'm glad it's over with because that was a terrible,
Yeah, but
terrible
in
time.
another 2 weeks, it won't matter because you could be
No, it
susceptible
won't.
again.
Well, of course it
Exactly.
doesn't matter, yeah. But it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
All right, my man. How you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm still alive. I ain't got the COVID yet.
Well, hey,
Yet.
hey. If you hang out,
You sound disappointed, bud.
if you hang out at Manatee down there, they had everybody got tested yesterday, and they're all going to open back up on Friday, so they should be nice and clean for a couple days.
Oh, there you go. That's what you do. You head for where the worst was, and then it's okay for a week. I
Yeah,
get that.
Exactly.
Hey, you guys comparing the BLM to, like, I don't know, the last little thing was the drug dealers that the guy had next door and had closed it down. I don't think BLM basically is a bunch of drug dealers. I think they're just pissed off they keep getting killed when they walk down the street, you know?
Little minor thing, right?
No, that really wasn't the point.
It's a minor
The
thing.
point
I
was, Bud, was if something bad's happening in your community, you need to be counted upon to try to stop it. Just like I tried to stop the drug people from being close to one of my offices. If you see bad things happening as an American, you shouldn't have to wait only on the government to save you. You know, it's just like the bus is waiting in New Orleans. If I'm waiting on the bus and I think I'm going to drown, I'm going to take it upon myself to get out. I'm not going to be relying on the government for every aspect of my life.
But that's why all these protests are happening.
You know, when you're 30 miles from anywhere to get out of New Orleans, it's kind of hard to get out of there. But
Yeah.
that's another point.
It'd be drying to me as I'm walking out the door.
Yeah.
Straight to drive down the road.
But that's
So
why
if
the
you're
protests are
driving
happening.
down the road,
Because the people want the government to know, in the police forces and the government, that things need to change. You know,
Exactly.
systemically
Right.
need to change.
The whole,
Do you think leaving exactly the same way it is and not having them complain about getting killed daily?
Yeah, it's going to happen again next week.
of course. You know what happens is, regardless, and I'll understand, not every cop's a killer.
Oh no, absolutely not.
So, and the object is, yes, there are things that happen that should not happen. Some things are absolutely senseless. But I will tell you, what do you think about all the damage that was done in Minneapolis and nobody got arrested, and all the things that were burned down, only $50 million worth, nothing serious, and then the
Well,
peaceful...
I understand your point there. Yeah, they should be arrested. But you notice that most of these people that have been arrested are Trump people that are out there. Who is it? The Boo Boo Boys or something?
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. With their assault rifles and.
But are they shooting? Are they shooting anybody?
Yeah, they have shot people.
But hey, you know, it's a monster problem today, a monster problem, and a very simple thing. This is Joe Martek's opinion: is that when somebody commits a crime, they need to be arrested and tried, and prosecuted and serve their time for whatever it might be. This letting people go and ignoring it and saying, slapping their hands and saying, hey, just because you broke windows or stole a refrigerator, that's not really that's a crime. You know.
What about Flynn got off scot-free?
Who?
Flynn, Trump's NSA guy.
He got off scot-free. Well, he's not free yet.
No, he's not.
But he will be. I guess you can't lie and set people up and have entrapment and think it's going to work. Just my opinion.
Well,
Anyway.
you
Entrapment
can't
doesn't
lie
work.
to the FBI.
And as an
either.
attorney, you know entrapment doesn't work.
Hey,
you can't lie to the
Bud, I'll
FBI
see you at
either.
Manatee and I'll buy you a beer.
All right, I quit drinking. Thanks anyways.
Okay, hey, good, you're cheaper. I'll buy you an iced tea. Thanks, Bud. 340-1590, 340.
Greg,
You know, the problem with, and Greg, I think could talk about this too, is the conversations that go on in black homes. You know, driving while black, and let me tell you, having been around a lot of athletes, it happens to almost
Everybody. And
in
this,
that community.
you know, this has been happening for so long. And
Decades.
one of the reasons why is because everybody's got a phone in their pocket right now. And one of the reasons why a lot of this is coming to light now is because all these incidents are being filmed.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, there's many stories of abuses, period, and there have been and always will be. I hate to say this. What happened
And Joe, do they post and video all the magnificent acts of kindness that the police officers
course
do
not.
No.
on a daily basis?
Well, good
They
news
do
doesn't
not.
sell papers. Bad news sells papers. Bad news is good for the media.
but our last caller just mentioned something, and I've confirmed it. The U.S. Appeals Court has ordered the district court to dismiss the Michael Flynn case. So he is going to be free.
That was the court system.
Yeah, and Greg, I just want to ask you one question, because I think we both agree on this. We both, I think, agree that everybody in the country has a constitutional right to peaceful protest, but I think we also agree that looting, breaking property, things like that should not be going on. Is that
Well, you have some people out there that are opportunists, and they
No
will
kidding.
take advantage of the situation. You know, two wrongs don't make a right.
That's right. Now let me ask you on Flynn, have they set it up where the immunity has been lifted where he can go after the people
it's
that
a headline?
wronged him?
The story just broke about.
We'll find
9
out in about
minutes
2
ago.
minutes.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, that's one of the big things that I'm in favor of if a police officer does a certain crime that's so egregious, the immunity should be lifted and he should be not held any differently in the eyes of the law. And if he's done something to me, I need to be able to go after him. And that's what they need to be shooting for.
Well, what if he's not collectible? There comes
Everyone
the
is collectible.
Well, Cliff's not collectible. All I'm trying.
I'm not. I'm on borrowed
You're
time.
on borrowed
Oh.
time. That's right. Grim Reaper's looking for you. We know
You're going
that.
to get
Whether,
a cremation on the monthly pay plan?
Whether Flynn is convicted or not, you know Trump on his way out, he's going to pardon him anyways,
Well, of course. That was
along with his other buddies, Manafort and
Well,
all
you
the
ever
rest
heard
of
of
them.
presidents pardoning people? I never heard of
Well-
Clinton pardoning anybody. Did you, Dan?
I did.
I'm kidding. Only
And
a couple.
Obama?
Only a couple hundred. Nothing serious. They pardon their buddies
That's
when
part
they.
of that's part of
I,
being the
I think
president.
I think we're going to see if you can pardon yourself pretty soon.
I like pardoning myself. Hey, are we running out of time, Chief? We're down to the last 15 seconds or so. We should say goodbye until next week, and I'll be in the Bahamas for the next 2 weeks, and guys will be doing the show without me.
if they let you
and
in.
people will be much happy. Well, they might keep me forever, which I might suffer.
Just enjoy your trip and be safe.
Thank you. Adios.
Hopefully
until
the
next.
boat doesn't sink.
Well, the boat's made 8 trips, and so far this will be its 9th. It hasn't broken, so I'm a happy camper. Adios, guys.
You have insurance on that boat?
You've been listening to the Team Martek Hour. The Team Martek Hour is a paid program. The content was provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership were not responsible for its content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. Tune in again next Wednesday at 11:05 for the Team Martek Hour here on WPSL 1590.